this is going to be in the shop, so I think it'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
Over the last few weeks, we've been shooting a short documentary on Jordan Drummond. He's 28 years old, lives in Vancouver, and he not only plays poker professionally himself, he coaches and finances around 100 other poker pros all over the world to play online poker tournaments too. One of the players Jordan stakes is Brandon Rollinson, and when we got to know him better, we learned he's got a really interesting story of his own. Brandon currently lives in Blind Bay. It's on Shuswap Lake, about 5 hours inland from Vancouver. It's a small town. The nearest city is Kamloops, and people in the area mainly work in tourism or natural resource industries like logging and mining. But Brandon does something totally different. He earns a living playing online poker from his bedroom at his parents' house. We wanted to find out what it's really like making a living playing poker on the internet and what brought Brandon back to his parents' house after a successful start to his poker career in Vancouver.
I always had this thing for card games. I was kind of like card games, but this was like one that I actually like really cared about being good at. I would actually throw a bit of money on my poker account, and I ran it up, no bankroll management whatsoever, and I'd run it up to like $700 playing these $15, $16, 18-man sit and goes, and then I would lose a bunch of it in cash games. And I've already cashed out a bunch and I was happy with it, and then I would just, I'd have to go and pawn my PS3. I'd load up the poker account again, and then I would just roll from there. Like I'd just get it up again, get my PS3 back in the amount of time I needed to, and yeah, I loved it. But eventually I did grow to read some articles about bankroll management. I decided, okay, I'm gonna start with $10. I'm gonna play these 25-cent sit and goes. I'm gonna work my way up, and eventually I used proper bankroll management, turned that into 1,000, turned it into more.
So at this point, Brandon's having some success playing poker online, and he's getting backed and coached by this guy Nick, who lives in the US. And then Black Friday happens. Online poker is completely shut down in America, and Nick's forced to move his entire operation to Canada. That's when they met Jordan.
And I'd be grinding out here exactly where I am right now. And then, we talked on Skype for a while, and Nick was gonna move in with Jordan, and I decided to follow suit, and we all kind of got in the same place together and grinded.
This was a big opportunity for Brandon. Nick and Jordan had more experience, they were playing higher stakes, and they were winning more money. Brandon had a dream of playing pro poker, and moving to the city to live with the guys who were coaching and staking him was a big step in that direction.
And then it just completely blew up from there. Like I think that year I went from making only $1,500, $2,000 a month to like $4,000 to $5,000 a month pretty quickly. It made me feel like there's so much more to poker, and I could see how like there was a high level of poker players out there doing things that, these low stakes players had no idea even worked or knew how they worked, and to get involved in that was huge. At that time, maybe a few months down the road, Jordan started to expand a little bit. He got more horses. I remember we went and celebrated one of them in Ireland. I think one of his horses back then made a pretty significant score. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was fun.
You had a good time?
Yeah, actually down in Ireland, we're also playing the UK IPT, which is a 700 euro. Yeah, 700 euro buy-in. And I busted on the bubble there. They had a little article or whatever. I busted with jacks against ace king on the bubble, which kind of sucked, but then we're playing Scoop, which was running during that time too, because I think it was in May. And I scored 10th in the 1K main. Yeah.
Do you remember what the prize was for that?
22,000. Yeah, it was okay. I feel like I probably jumped the gun on it all because I made quite a bit of money, and I always had this idea of like, I'd like to be able to do whatever I want, work when I want, and still have money to go out and buy what I want when I see it. And that's how I lived life. Just kind of got caught up in that and would hardly ever work. Took a lot of time off and spent a lot of money that I had banked.
If you're not familiar with staking in poker, it basically means one person puts up the money for another person to play with and they split the profits. The catch is that the person being backed is on the hook for 100% of the losses. In the staking world, that's called makeup. And every time Brandon buys into a tournament and doesn't place in the money, it's added to his total makeup. So when things are going badly, not only are you not making any money, you're also watching your makeup skyrocket. It's that kind of pressure that can make playing poker professionally so hard, and downswings so hard to pull out of.
Over $30,000 or $35,000 worth of makeup. It was kind of daunting, like to wake up and think I have to grind and I might not make any money for myself until, I don't know, 3 months from now, or 4 months from now, or 5 months from now, 6 months, a year, who knows? Having to grind it back and kind of pull yourself together and work on making that money back. And it can be a lot of pressure.
Being a young guy with freedom and money can lead to a lot of challenges, and after hanging out with Brandon for a while, we learned he went through some hard stuff in Vancouver. He wasn't cool with talking about all that on camera, but it ended with Brandon moving back to Blind Bay to try to rebuild.
I love it, man. It's great. I don't know, like most people would think, oh, well, actually no, here's the truth. The one thing that sucks about being out here is I'm not in a grind house, and I love being in a grind house where everybody's grinding and you get to, like, you know, watch your friends play or these other professional poker players playing. You can, like, talk and you know, talk about hands and stuff a lot easier. Whereas, like, all I have is Skype when I talk to other players, right? So that's the one downside. Other than that, I love it out here. There's nothing bad about being out here for me. This is my favorite place, especially to work. I just look out this view. Look out the view, man. It's great.
Your office window.
Yeah, it's a great office window too. Oh, lakes right there.